Today we have Helen here. I know that a lot of you know Helen very well because she's been very active on our discussion boards and provided some really amazing tips that helped you through the process of creating your expert LinkedIn profile. Today Helen is here to talk about how to build connections on LinkedIn. You've just watched a short video with Glenn, and Helen's going to add on some additional ways to really build your connections on LinkedIn and, more importantly, build relationships on LinkedIn. So Helen, we all know that you're a LinkedIn guru, so do you have some tips on how to build connections?
Yes, and thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here. I think networking is the single most important thing that you can do to further your job search. And LinkedIn is a great tool for networking. There are some great ways that you can invite people to connect. And I think priority one is to remember the information that you got from Glenn. Connect first with friends, family, and colleagues. And I think it's helpful to always be on the lookout for opportunities to connect with people so that when you're meeting with people in person, get a business card or ask for an email address, and then when you're saying goodbye, say, I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn, and do so promptly.
This is actually something that I've tried to do often. I've collected a lot of business cards in the past when I've attended events or conferences. And but when it comes to connecting, I always feel a little bit nervous because I don't know how to go about making that invitation. Do you have any tips about how I should make that connection?
I do. The first thing is to make the request as soon as possible after you've met them. The longer you wait, the more likely it is that they won't remember that they've met you. The second tip I have is to customize your request. Make sure you make a note of when you met them, where you met them, and customize it. So it might say something like this. If I had met a person named Asha, I might go, "Hi Asha, I enjoyed meeting you at the conference yesterday. Wasn't the keynote presentation great? I would love to stay in touch. Let's connect on LinkedIn." And the third thing to do is to make sure that your LinkedIn profile picture is current so that it's easy for somebody to recognize you.
That's a really good point right there. Helen, I know that LinkedIn differentiates connections. There's different types of connections. Can you speak to that?
I can. When you and I are connected on LinkedIn, we're first-degree connections, and there's a lot of value with that. In addition, though, to you and I being connected, you have visibility to all my connections. Those are your second-degree connections. And connecting with second-degree connections is a really great way to expand your network.
And how would you go about making connections with those second-degree connections?
That's great. There are a couple of ways. LinkedIn will allow you to just send a connect request. And I recommend actually a two-step process. I recommend going back to your connection, send them a note, and ask them to introduce you to the person that you want to meet. There's some advantages to doing that. One, it reminds you that I'm trying to expand my network and I'm interested in meeting new people. And two, it makes the person more comfortable. They're more likely to accept the request. So LinkedIn has some different ways you can do that. You can message each other. There's also a feature called request an introduction, and the steps on how to do that are included on the additional resources material. Or you could just email using your own email to your friend directly.
So Helen, now that we've discussed how to connect with people that you have someone in common with, how do you connect with people who you don't know?
Yeah, they're very challenging. I call them the cold connect because they're much more risky. If you're building your network with a bit of luck, you won't have to do this very often. But one of the keys is to personalize it. I'll give you an example. Last week I was at a conference and there was a fantastic presentation given by a panel of speakers, and I was really eager to connect with the three women who were on the panel. But the lineup was huge. I just didn't have time to wait. So what I did was I sent a note afterwards on LinkedIn, and it said this: "Your presentation at the OHA convention was wonderful. I was one of the many people who gathered at the end of your presentation hoping to meet you, but luck was not on my side. I would love to stay in touch and learn more about your ideas. Let's connect on LinkedIn."
And that's a great invitation because after you read it, I generally feel how genuine you are. And it shows that you are very interested in connecting with this person and not just adding another number onto your connections list. Do you have any other examples of how you can connect?
I do. One of my clients actually is a real whiz at LinkedIn, and she has an approach that I highly recommend. She starts by taking a close look at the person she wants to connect with, takes a look at their profile, and what she's looking for is something that she can use as a hook, something that she can use to customize her invitation. So for example, one of the people that she was interested in meeting had recently been promoted. So what she drafted for her LinkedIn Let's Connect request was this: "Hi Bill, congratulations on your new position as CEO at ABC Bank. It must be an exciting time for you. I would love to get advice on how you've managed your career, tips that I might apply to my own. Let's connect on LinkedIn."
That's a fantastic way to approach that situation. Now, I know we're talking about connecting with people you don't know, and this is something that LinkedIn discourages. Is there any way to get around this?
There is, yeah. LinkedIn has do's and don'ts, and what they do suggest is that you only connect with people that you know and who know you. So one of the ways that I use to get around this, because I'm not a big rule breaker, is I look at the person I want to connect with, I look at their profile, and I take a look at the groups and see if they're the member of any groups. If they are, I join one of them, because LinkedIn will allow you to connect with all the other group members.
Do you have any other suggestions on how you can get around this?
I do. Sometimes you don't have visibility into whether somebody has a membership in a group. Sometimes they're not the member of any group. So what I do is I look at and get the company name. Where do they work? And then I go to that company's website, and I'm on a mission to find how that company formats their email. And by that I mean, how is the email address structured for the people who work at that organization? And some common formats are first name at companyname.ca or first name, last name at companyname.com. And where to find this will depend on the type of industry or sector that the person you want to connect with is working in. For example, if they're in the not-for-profit sector, some not-for-profit organizations make it really easy, and they list a lot of contact information directly on their website. Or you can go into their fundraising section or their media and see if the contact information is listed there. If the person works for a publicly traded company, go to investor relations and look at an earnings release. For other types of companies, public relations, communications, and media, see if you can find a press release. Anytime you have an earnings release, a press release, or a media release, 9 times out of 10, there's contact information, including the email format. Once you know the format, you just customize it to match with the person's name that you're trying to connect with, and you email directly from your own email account. No rules broken.
That's a really great tip, something that I have never thought about doing, and I'm definitely going to walk away with this in mind.
Great.
So now that we've talked a little bit about how to find connections and connecting with people, once you send an invitation and it's been accepted, what's next?
Well, everything that I've ever read about doing an effective job search says send a thank you. It's such a simple thing. It doesn't take much time to do, but boy, will it ever make you stand out. I have over 200 connections on LinkedIn, and the number of thank you for accepting my invitation is probably 4 or 5. So it's quick, it's a good habit to get into, and you'll stand out from the crowd.
Wow, yeah, I never thought about sending thank yous myself. Now, something that we've discussed is how to personalize your invitation asks, and that is something that can take a long time, and you're putting a lot of effort into it. But sometimes when you send those invitations, they don't come back with an acceptance. So how do you deal with that?
Yes, I wish I could say all your requests to connect are going to be accepted. They aren't, and that's just the nature of the game. It's important to remember it's not about you. This was something that was a bit difficult for me to get my head around, and I do remind myself the person could be busy. They might not be interested in connecting with me, and it's not personal. They might be on vacation. They may not even be in that role anymore. They just haven't updated their LinkedIn profile. I think it's important, it's not about you, and move on. There are over 9 million Canadian members on LinkedIn. There are a lot of people to connect with.
That's good. Don't take it too personal.
No,
That's some
not.
great advice right there. So Helen, we've talked a lot about connecting. How do you turn those connections into relationships?
That's really important because connecting isn't a relationship. It requires that we keep in touch. And the good news is LinkedIn has some great tools for that.
And what are some of those tools?
A really nice one to use is the endorsement feature.
Oh.
So this is going to somebody's profile, looking at all of their skills, highlighting a couple, 2 or 3. They'll know that you're thinking of them, and they may even endorse you back.
That's true, yeah, you get some endorsements back. Is there any other ways of building relationships?
Absolutely. One of the really effective ways I think of building a relationship is by sharing information. I think that's a really powerful tool. So I always keep my eye out looking for articles that might be of interest to the people that I'm connected with. And when I find one, I copy the link and I put it into an email, and that email might be as simple as, I saw this article on the Globe and Mail's website, I thought it might be of interest to you, I hope everything is going well, and I copy and paste it using the LinkedIn messaging feature.
That's really good. I know that I personally would have loved to get sort of information emailed to me and know that someone is thinking about me.
Exactly. Even if they've read the article, it doesn't matter. They still know that you're thinking of them.
That's fantastic. So is there any other ways to build relationships?
There are. Another tool that LinkedIn offers can be found when you go to the main menu and you look at connections. There's a drop-down menu and you'll see Keep in Touch. This is great feature. It shows everything that's happening with your connections, work anniversaries, birthdays, new skills, new photos, new job titles. You can be really efficient with this feature. You just need to hit the like button, or you can write a short note, and it's a really great way of keeping in touch.
Very simple way.
Very simple way.
Good. So Helen, after listening to you, I know I'm very confident that I'm going to go out there and make many, many connections and relationships. And I was wondering, is there any way to sort of organize these connections so that it's easier for me to keep track of who they are and where we've met?
Yeah, there are. LinkedIn will allow you to sort your connections by company, by the title, by the location, and all of that is built in. You don't have to take any extra steps. And there's also a feature called tags.
Tagging, what's that?
Tagging's a really cool feature that not many people know about. It's something you have to kind of think about ahead of time.
Okay.
Because it's much easier to do it at the time that you make that connection. You have to do it individually. And LinkedIn has some preset options. For example, you could be a friend, and then I can sort all by friends. But you want to think about what kind of information, how do you want to be able to track people? I go to a lot of events. For me, a great way to use my tags is to know where I've met them. So it could be 123 convention, ABC networking event, and I can tag based on where I met them, and it allows me to really quickly get in touch with all the people I met based on where they met. And other examples of how you can set up tags are also on those additional features.
Oh, great, and I'm definitely going to go check out those additional features. So Helen, we've gone through so many different concepts about making connections and touched upon some really great tips and tools. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. I've definitely learned a lot today, and I'm going to go take some of your suggestions and start connecting with more people. And I hope that all our e-learners will take your suggestions as well and start connecting and building those relationships.
Thanks for having me.